Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jesse Card with the House Edge Sports Network from the comfort of my podcast studio here out in Stittsville. Just moved out here in May, but loving it so far. Right down the field from Canada. Drove by there tonight, saw them all practicing late into past 9 o'clock. And we're just getting ready to show some of the interviews that we got today. We're going to do everything live. We're live right now. It's 9:47. We're starting a bit later tonight, but those that are watching, hi everybody. Welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us. Now, I want to get the elephant, talk about the elephant in the room here. There's been some big news in the Ottawa football community over the last, I'd say, 48 hours. I've received a lot of messages and a lot of disappointed people right now by what's going on. Something that we've talked about for many years being a big detriment to the game. At this point, personally, I'm going to speak on behalf for myself and for just HESN, which is a local social enterprise that has always been designed to create employment opportunities and reach sustainability, providing coverage and professional level coverage to youth sports and the youth athletes in this fine city of Ottawa. And we're getting closer to getting to that goal. But speaking on behalf of HESN and nobody else, I personally am still in the process of understanding what's going on and collecting some facts. So like the old saying goes, when it's crucial to act, it's absolutely critical not to act. So I think there's going to be some more stuff going on over the next few days. So I encourage anyone that's going through any of these issues or very frustrated right now and looking for answers to just hang and stay patient. And I'm sure everything will be good. I'm Jesse Card, and you are watching the HESN podcast. We'll be back in a quick second with the rest of the show. Make sure that you join the chat, get on there, and make sure you share it. Tag anyone that might be wanting to hear about what we're talking about, which is local Ottawa football, making this better for the kids that play this sport. We'll be back soon. Okay, welcome everybody. We're back with the HESN Live Football podcast, and we've got the Mosquito power rankings for week 6 just released today. Cumberland, obviously that powerhouse team that everybody is hearing about, is still number 1. In fact, there are no changes this week to the Mosquito rankings, and everything stays status quo heading into week 6 and the weekend of games there. I want to hear what people think. The big news that was just released earlier today, that has everyone talking, is that the Mosquitoes will now join the bowl series of the Interprovincial Bowl Series. So the Mosquitoes are now getting a game against the champion of the Montreal Regional Football League. And we're going to be able to see whoever does take the championship this year for the Ottawa City Championship. We're going to see them in action against the Montreal best of the best. So I know that this is a huge incentive to those coaches and those teams. I think there's a ton of excitement. So I'm interested to see on the chat what you guys all think. And we've got a few people here. I can see Mark Tyler and Christian, Ron, everyone's on here. Barb Dodge asked, what's the announcement? I'm not going to get into it in this podcast. We're going to just collect some facts and maybe, go from there. But right now it's going to be about week 6 in the CAFA. We're going to bring on, hopefully going to get Phil Oloki on a little bit later, who's a NACAFA great alumni from a few years back. He's now a Carlton Ravens in his 4th year, I believe, at the Carlton Ravens, and he's doing some great things. And he's a very smart guy in the classroom. He's We're going to hear from him and what he wants to do with his career and what degree he's getting over there at Carlton. But let's talk a little bit about Mosquito. Which games are you guys most excited about this weekend?
It's fourth year, I believe, at Carlton,
right? What are the outcomes? What are some of the inside workings of teams that maybe we don't know about, that people can shed some light on? We can talk about in the chat here. If we look at the Warriors, they're having a really tough season, which is, I think, odd for the Warriors, but I mean, these things happen in cycles all the time, I can tell you. And the Panthers, winning the championship last year, they've stayed number one basically from week 2 of the preseason predictions. They moved into the number 1 spot, and the Eagles are chasing them, and I think they match up not this weekend but next. That's going to be a hell of a game, and I personally love this division because to be able to get a team at this age group executing and playing this game is something beautiful to watch. And when you have two great teams with great players and they're very well coached and organized, going at it, like we always usually see in the A-Cup final, but certainly the semifinals are nothing to sneeze at either. They're always great games. So I'm really looking forward to this Eagles-Panthers game coming up, and seeing what those two teams can do together. What are some of the other matchups we're looking at here at the Mosquito? What are some of the topics? Who are some of the players that are just ripping it up? And what are some of the coaching triumphs this year? Even on maybe some of those lower-ranked teams like the Warriors and the Wolverines and the Vikings. I know the Vikings, I saw, they're a great team. Tyler says, who's Bel Air playing on Friday night? So let's look that up. Can somebody look that up? I don't have it right in front of me. I got a thousand other things going here on my laptop, but who the Bel Air Lions are playing is not one of them. And we're asking, okay, so Amy says Giants. So that right there, we've got a 6 and 7 matchup this weekend, which is good. And you know what's interesting about like these rankings is that even if you get a 10 and 11 matchup, it's still relevant, and it's still a good game because yes, they're not playing to stay undefeated, but they're playing for maybe a ranking spot, you know. And even if it's a shift from 10 into 9, or in this case maybe Bel Air is looking at going from 7 to 6, those can have playoff implications. And don't tell me that those players aren't those players aren't working hard for that spot. There's a lot of pride on the line, and sometimes even on those seasons when you're not doing so well, just executing and scoring some touchdowns makes the whole season worthwhile. And I've certainly been on my fair share of teams like that growing up, where we went winless, and even that C Cup was maybe our first win towards the end of the season to get into the C Cup. And man, those are fun games. They were great games, and I think I won 3 C Cup championships with the Warriors in my days in the NCAFA, the great league we have here. Yeah, so Barb Dodge is saying Giants as well. Norseman, I was talking about, laugh out loud. Mark Closter, and Mark's son's doing some great things there with the Norseman in the midget league. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So let's look at the Pee Wee division here. All right, we're switching it up. We've got Pee Wee, and let's just have a look. I'm going to give you guys a second to take it in. Big surprise. Cumberland Panthers move up from number 2 to number 1, and the posts that I saw go out this afternoon and the retweets on these rankings in week 6. It says week 5 there. That's my mistake. But by the time it got out there, I couldn't reel it back in. So it's week 6, but Cumberland Panthers overtake Myers to be the number 1 team. A lot of people thought that should have happened last week, and I hear you. These rankings are great because they're not a science, you know. I look at a lot of things here. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of input this year. It's a little bit more on me this year, but that's okay. And I stand behind my rankings, and it has a lot to do with obviously strength of schedule and points for, points against, but also I've got a lot of inside sources on what's going on, and even if a team appears on paper to be maybe a higher rank, I can tell you that I know things that you don't, and that's why they may not be as highly ranked. And at the end of the season, all will be told what these rankings validity will be. So we've got some good matchups this week in Pee Wee. Let me know in the comments, what are you guys excited about this week at this Pee Wee division, and what are some of the predictions here? What do you think is how is this playoff push gonna play out? Who could be some possible surprise B Cup teams? Who do you think will fall into the C Cup when it's all said and done? And obviously, who do you think is going to be that A Cup hoisting championship team? Barb's saying Pee Wee has good players going up to Bantam next year. He says Owen Levine from the Bell Warriors is fabulous. I don't doubt it, Barb. And Barb has her fingers on the pulse of the Bell Warriors. She's out there taking pictures from pretty much the Norsemen down to the Tykes. And I'm telling you, I think, I don't know how many years, I remember some of the first years that Barb started taking pictures, and I can tell you, she's a freaking pro now. Like these pictures she's putting out there week to week, the kids are loving them. I remember when there were very few pictures, like professional pictures with like a telephoto lens that ever got taken of me when I was a kid. There's a few, but I think my parents were too busy cheering and going for coffee or something. They never took pictures. And but I remember at McMaster, there's a few photographers, and Jeff Chan from Queens, the great Jeff Chan photographer that does all of Queen's stuff usually. He's a huge football fan. This guy's like a pure good Canadian fan of football and the OUA. And I remember when we played Queens, I would see these pictures that came back, and man, they would go straight to my Facebook profile. I only joined Facebook in 2004, I think. And I was considered a fairly early adopter. So that's aging me, I know, right now. But she's saying that, the Warriors, and let's see what else we got here. Prediction A Cup game, Bel Air versus Canada. Ooh, interesting. Well, we know that Canada Knights have a pretty fierce offensive game here, and a running back number 31, not Travinsky, but Kowalski, I believe, and he is ripping it up. He's a hockey player that decided he's coming out to football to play a real man's game, and this kid is ripping it up at Canada. So, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. And somebody's laughing here. Damien Laverty's laughing out loud here. Christian Nally, Canada D is starting to show dominance. Okay, so that was needed. We saw in week 1 Bel Air, who's ranked number 3 right now, who's overtaken Bell Warriors this week. Number 3 versus the number 5 team. They played week 1, and it was a high-scoring game, and we saw that Canada defense maybe being this offense definitely has the ability to compete for a championship, but they're going to need to get their defense to come along, and Christian's saying maybe that's starting to occur. And we've got a lot of people in the chat. So remember, just keep sharing this thing. We got Nick Burns, old teammate of mine from McMaster. He runs some fantastic football camps in the Golden Horseshoe area. Welcome, Nick. We're talking Ottawa football. Andrew Ellis coaching over at the Norsemen. He's probably not going to be too happy with the rankings for the Big Ten that came out, because they had a tough week traveling to North Shore and playing that strong Montreal team. And I'm telling you, I saw the highlights. They didn't have that running back, that beast, running through between the tackles in week 1 when they played the Eagles. But they still got that quarterback is healthy, and he's good. So let's move on from the Pee Wee here for now, and let's bring up the Bantams. So here we go. We're having a look at the Bantam Week 6 Power Rankings presented by the House Edge Sports Network. For those of you that have been around, I probably haven't done as a great job communicating what the vision for the House Edge Sports Network is and has always been. But coming from my background in criminology and working in youth prisons, the idea with HESN from the start was to provide community sports organizations professional level media coverage. We've now moved into live multi-camera broadcast live, like you're seeing right now with this show being live, and developing media skills for priority areas in the city. So we're going to be announcing more ways that people can get involved with HESN and what we're all about. But for now, the Bantam Week 6 Power Rankings. Cumberland Panthers and everybody else stay where they are from Week 5. Nothing's changed. No big movements. But I'm telling you right now, Friday night, 6 p.m. at Bob Barr Field in Canada, the Myers Riders will be playing the Canada Knights. So that's a number 2, number 3 matchup. They haven't played yet. I haven't seen Myers play yet this year. Has anybody else? Can somebody tell us what their big strengths are here in the chat? We don't know. We don't know yet. So the other interesting thing, the Bell Warriors, I think if you look from 1 to 4, certainly, this is anybody's division. And the reason I say that is I've watched Bell Warriors play 3 times. They played the Giants, and, you can see where the Giants are there. They've got a lot of young players. They've got 10 players, I was told, from the coach, Dennis Pruce, that have never played football before. These are new guys, and you know what? You may look at the record and the power ranking of the North Gloucester Giants, but I'll tell you what, this team's a big win. It's a big win for City because we've got new kids playing football that haven't played football before. And you know what? A couple years under their belt, another year at Pee Wee, 2 years at Bantam, and they joined the Midget Big Ten, and some of these athletes, these 10 individuals, might be these all-stars that are going on to become Curly Gittens Jr. And I've seen it before. It can happen pretty quick. If the kids find a love for the game and they can develop, they will learn what they need to learn. So the Warriors have a rematch with the Cumberland Panthers again, and they're hosting again at Quinns Point. So I don't know how that happened in the schedule where the Panthers have to travel. And it's a pretty big drive coming from Millennium all the way down to Barhaven and Quinns Point. But it's a good facility, and they're playing on turf, so it could be worse, obviously. But, you got to say that marquee matchup is going to be Friday night with the Panthers and the Myers 1 and 2. Myers and Canada 1 and 2. So let's read some of the chat here. Got some people chatting with each other. Let's go over here. I'm just going to show you what's going on my end. Got the studio here, got a laptop doing the production. We've obviously this is the glue that holds Ottawa football, whether some people, you know who I'm talking about, understand it or not. This is where we develop our talent. This is the factory. Okay, and then we've got our feed here where we can keep on top of what's going on. So let's read this. Okay, so Patrick Cloutier, obviously a little bit of a homer here. His son's the starting quarterback for the Panthers Bantam team. But I tell you, I'm very impressed with Zach. I didn't know that he was an East Ottawa General. So if you talk about the East Ottawa General, I know that they always get a lot of slack. And once again, disappointingly, they're kind of in a rebuild again. And I was really optimistic and encouraged by Jim Whitman taking over the presidency at the Generals because I thought he was a really bright guy. He was about the right things there, but he stepped down. So they got somebody new in there. I think he's much younger. Don't know much about this guy, but Zach was a general. There's a bunch of other kids that have come through the Generals program. They found football through the Generals. Patrice Rene is another one, right? That many people don't think about being a general, but he was. And now, obviously, I think he's a starting corner for North Carolina. So it all starts at NCAFA, ladies and gentlemen. And, there's a lot of talk. I kind of referenced this and alluded to it earlier in the podcast when we started, that there's some big news. I'm personally just speaking on behalf of nobody else but my own company, HESN, when I say that I want to just gain the facts before I comment on anything. But NCAFA prides itself on developing talent and introducing the game to a bunch of people. So let's see here. Okay, man. Nathan Coleman's joined. He's back from practice. You guys went pretty late tonight. I drove by the field. I was going home. My wife has her brother in town, so we went out for dinner, and we drove by the field, and you guys were going late until like 9:45. And I also saw a photographer there when I was driving on my way to the restaurant, taking pictures of number 52 at the midget level. And I'm pretty sure number 11, Coleman, I think you probably got a couple snaps with the season that you're having. Tyler has said on record many times, you're the best player in the Big Ten. What do you guys all think? Andrew Ellis, thanks for the call out, man. We've been paying attention. I think you're referencing us, not another comment. I'm trying to keep up here. And then we've got Evans Vogus from Cuban Foul. So he is like my guy. What I do here in Ottawa, he's doing in Montreal. And it's awesome to have a couple media guys, the footage and the quality of streaming and the quality of game recaps that you guys are doing to the games, out-of-town games in Montreal for the QMFL Midget Conference and the Big Ten. Are awesome. As soon as they come up on YouTube, I watch them, I share them, and obviously appreciate you guys doing the same. Okay, so let's see what else is going on here. We got, okay, so Andrew's saying, what do I have to say about the 5 interceptions this week? Yeah, you know what? We're going to get into that. Nolan Harris had a tough go of it, and we've got Chris Ross, man, longtime Giants coach. How you doing, man? Okay, remember, guys, let's share this sucker. Let's keep it going. We're gonna go for another little while here, and yeah, Tyler's just reaffirming what I said there, man. Nathan Coleman, this guy's a guy to watch, and if I'm anyone certainly in Ontario at the next level looking at this, I would have this kid very highly on my recruiting ranks. From what I hear, I gained some info when they played the Eagles. I got talking to a very nice gentleman who's Mr. Brennan, who has a son on that midget Knights team. I believe he plays D-line, number 68, and a smart kid by the sounds of his dad. It might just be his dad bragging. I don't know. That happens sometimes. But he's looking at Waterloo because of the engineering program, and I'm telling you, Waterloo ain't Waterloo anymore. They beat Laurier this week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get Tyler on here to talk a little bit about the OUA and what's going on there, but thanks, everybody. Okay, so listen, we're going to get into some of the other stuff here. Andrew, hang around because we will talk about that. I might jump back in here and there to maybe just talk about the comments, but welcome. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the HESN Live podcast. We're going to bring Phil Loki on, he needs no introduction. I ain't going to tell you who he is. You know who he is. So stick with us. We will be back shortly.
Redneck.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
Okay, we are here. We got Tyler on the show like we do every week. I'd call you like an HESN insider.
Yeah, HESN insider. I'll be an insider. Oh, great.
Or be like an opinion piece. You know, an opinionator.
The word that they use now in the game is like hot takes. Like it's all about who has the hot takes. Like some places, like I like the Ringer.com. For those that don't know, the Ringer.com is a great website by Bill Simmons. He's the guy who created 30 for 30. He's from Boston. Started his whole career just a blogger online. He sort of saw the internet for what it could be before anyone in the sports realm. And I think he like when it's all said and done, I think he'll down important sports media people in modern history. But he's about they don't want to be hot take artists. They don't want to make their whole lit just being like Stephen A. Smith and on First Take or Shannon Sharp on Fox One, right? So, but maybe we can use a little bit of that hot takes here at GSN. So that's what I'm talking about.
So, like we always do, Ty, I thought we'd start and just look at kind of a really quick snapshot of the OUA.
Yeah.
We're hopefully going to get Phil on a little bit later to talk a little bit more about Carlton. But let's have a little look here. So McMaster wins 37-3 at home for their homecoming against U of T.
There was actually a story that came out of that game that had nothing to football, though.
Oh, yeah?
Someone over by a horse.
Sorry, say that again?
A human got run over by a horse at the homecoming to McMaster. Okay. There's a horse that was doing some sort of whatever they're doing it through, and I think the horse maybe got a little panicked and somebody injured. I think three people were injured. One person maybe seriously. So hope that person's all right. But
was it a police horse?
I think it might have been. Yeah.
So do you remember the story at a Queen's homecoming a few years ago when a girl was caught on video slapping the butt of a police horse?
No.
And it like kicked her. Like he slapped it and then it just kind of like wiggled its leg, but it like knocked her back like 15 feet. And then she got like crucified. I think she was expelled and charged.
like assaulting a police officer or something, right?
Right. Anyways, that's funny. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, big story. But good McMaster after sort of a tough couple weeks before that. Close wins, a loss they had. So good for them to bounce back and put it down on Toronto, which is sort of a common occurrence with Master on homecoming against.
Right. Dan Porter, 1 tackle, 1 assist in the
man.
game. I'm guessing that'd be a special teams play. But he's out there, and other action, again, another close one. So Carlton 42-39, and I think they were up pretty big in the first half over Queens.
They were.
So definitely a theme that keeps kind of happening to Carlton is taking these close games. Now they're winning them, which is good. If you can be in these overtime games and come out with the win, that's obviously better, but it's definitely good to put teams away much earlier.
There's I think there is a bit of discussion that needs to be have about that, where it's like sometimes when you play these close games, you develop these sort of pressure calluses in your team, and sometimes find a lot of teams that don't pressure it in the season, maybe too many big victors, or maybe don't face much adversity. Like you don't want to create adversity, but if you're in these close games, which Carlton has been in, they've been in overtime game, lost to Western, and they've had a couple really close games, and now this double overtime game. It's one of those things that at the end of the season, when they're in a playoff game, maybe this is the year where they could break through because of these calluses that they developed over the season. When you look at guys like Michael Luda, 26 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that's really what you want to see, and you want a quarterback playing well. So I think it's sort of good they're having these tough games in the season.
Yeah, I agree. If we look at the NCAFA landscape right now, a team that I think might be like guilty of that or could be guilty of that is this Mosquito Cumberland Panthers team, which is undefeated 5-0. Yep. And if they don't have some competitive games throughout the year, when it comes to the playoffs, sometimes the nerves are too much and you don't put out your best performance and it's enough to lose. I think that happened to the Cumberland Bantam team last year when they played Canada.
And that was something that I remember when Coach Curry was coaching in the Tyken Mosquitoes. I remember they would destroy everyone, and then they'd get to championship game, and it'd be like snowy or rainy, and it's not like they were clearly the better team. There's no debate that they were the best. But if you haven't faced that adversity and your kids or even young adults in mid or the university, if you don't know how you're going to react to these situations, it's the first time, it's new. So you want to make sure that you create these situations, and this is why it's sort of put in your backup. If you're going to beat a team 60-0, make sure you create these situations that are sort of that could be representative of maybe something that could be happening later on in the season.
Totally agree. Also, like I said, we want to talk to Phil later on in the show, but
yes,
he also had a pretty good performance. And if we bring up his numbers here, he was
6 for 67 and a touchdown.
6 for 67, yeah. And so I think Ruda and Phil are doing good. Ruda's playing really well.
Yeah.
They also have a running back, Nathan Carter, who rushed for 23 times, 159 yards.
Well, that's what you want.
And I think that guy, I read, he might have overtaken the all-time Carlton rusher of the current Carlton days.
Yeah. Okay.
Not probably all time, but Nathan Carter definitely getting it. Providing that ground game that they need to allow Aruda to have a little bit of time when they do pass. So.
Well, I think that's always the thing about rushing, right? I know running the football is not as popular in the modern football, but at the same time, people sometimes overlook the fact that just a little bit of running success creates so much more opportunities in the passing game. It allows you to play action opportunities, keeps the defense on their heels. So even though Nathan Carter's clearly like the best player, 23 carries for 60 yards, that's 7 yards a pop. If you know every time you can give up to a kid, he's gonna get yards. You're pretty, and he only had a long of 20. That actually shows that he was very consistent in gaining yardage, which was almost every time he touched the football, first down. You're going to create a lot of easy throws for Michael Ruda, which is just the St. Louis Rams or the Los Angeles Rams are winning football. They fake Gurley, and they create these wide throws for the quarter. I like what I'm seeing from Carlton there.
Well, and conversely, I think you can make an argument. What's happening with the Nepean Eagles at the midget level right now is that they could have a pretty good ground game, but because of the lack of production in the air, teams are putting all their players in the box. They're loading it up, and now it's very hard for what would be a pretty good running game to get off the ground and get going because there's really people are predicting what the Eagles are going to do, which is run Noah Gauthier, and it's becoming very, very difficult for that team right now. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we'll keep talking OUA. Waterloo wins 34-32 over a nationally ranked number 4 Laurier, and that's the first time that they beat Laurier since 2002. So very, very good, 2 very good teams there. Waterloo is definitely putting everyone on call here in the OUA and saying they're for real. And how big will that Carlton win against them be down the road?
It's just great to see. I love to see different teams make appearance other than just the Westerns and the McMasters and the Queens that are perennial 6 teams in the OUA. Hey, it's great to see Waterloo come up. Great to see Carlton playing well, and Guelph had a win as we'll talk about against Windsor. So great to see Waterloo playing. Of course, for Ray Curly Giddens Jr. doing his thing, 8 catches, 100 yards. We all know. Don't need to talk too much about Curly. Everybody knows how you feel about Curly Giddens Jr. One of the greatest ball players come out of Ottawa. We'll definitely be seeing him in the NFL. I know that few years. So he keeps running out every game. It seems he's 100 and something yards. So
and on the other side, this kid Tyler Tanowski, 10 receptions, 251 yards, had an 88 yarder and a touchdown.
Damn.
This kid is lighting up the OUA, and it's funny because there's a player that you really like on Canada, that wears number 11.
Yes.
Great number.
He had a number.
And he reminds me a little bit of this Tyler Chernowski if you look at the highlights.
Okay, now that's Nathan Coleman, I believe is the name.
That's right, Nathan Coleman, and we're going to talk about him. He had 5 touchdowns against the Eagles on Thursday night last week.
Damn.
So,
as I said, like we talked about, like I know the talented. I know Fernand has talent, but when I look at that team, all the games I've watched, number 11 is their best player on offense. He's the guy that he's the stick that stirs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think early in the season, we talked a lot about Ferdinand, who's still contributing, but it has emerged with that team that Nathan Coleman is the real deal. This kid had a catch, and then he turned it up, avoided a tackle, and then split the defense like we saw Dorber Colley do back in the day. And so he's got speed. I got to talk a little bit more to the West Ottawa organization. He comes from the Arnprior area.
Okay.
And he decided to he went to Football North last year, and he decided to play in the midget league because he thought he would get the game film and the exposure that he needs. This is a kid that I think we're going to expect to see great things in the future in his career. I think he could really do well at the next level, and he chose midget over other options and certainly over the Arnprior lightning bolts kind of program out there. I saw the first score from the high school, and it was I think Smith Falls over the Redmen, and 55-0 for the Redmen over the Smith Falls team. But you look at the schedule for that high school, and there's no doubt that the players are wanting to play in this midget league.
Well, it's about the total package. The reason why NCAFA is always it's such a stable organization. There's teams at different level. But with the changes that we've been able to facilitate over the last few years, to help NCAFA and the QMFL and Steve Dean and all the leaders in NCAFA and mid, we're able to really come up with something better. That's a great option for these kids. They know they're going to get film. We podcast and a live show every week, sort of trying to highlight the benefits and all the play in the league. We got live broadcast from HESN, the amazing broadcast, and we get amazing feedback. So it's a real option now where you don't need to tell yourself to go to Football North and maybe drop $10,000 or whatever it costs, $5,000. I don't need to go to place a prep school somewhere near Toronto, because at the end of the day, I can get everything I need here. I know I'm going to get coaching. I'm going to get great exposure, and most important, I'm going to be able to focus on my swing and make sure that I got everything lined up. Is all the facts matter when you're trying to the next level, and it's good to see a guy like Nathan Coleman make that decision based on the total package, not just trying to look cool.
That's a good point. If we look also at some of the other games too. We looked at Guelph. We talked about Guelph beating Windsor 26-20. Carter Wilson is playing D-line for Guelph now. And he had 4 tackles, I think 2 assists, and 2 sacks were for a loss of 5
Carter
yards.
Wilson, is that the guy that went to Montana or something?
So Carter Wilson was a Myers rider. He played in the OVFL. He also joined the new age group for the Junior Sooners, so the Canadian Junior Football League, and he was the youngest player ever to join and play in that league, and he got league MVP or Rookie of the Year, I believe. Then he went to North Dakota.
North Dakota, that's right.
So he's been in North Dakota for the last 2 years. He's just resurfaced in Canada, and he's playing for Guelph. And he's on that D-line with Alain Simikinda, who also had 2 sacks, 2 tackles, 2 sacks, loss of 16 for those 2 sacks. So interesting, 2 Ottawa boys that pursued the U.S. Route that are playing for Guelph, doing good things there. And I think definitely if they keep up, they have a good career. We know that Carter is kind of a physical freak, so he's the kind of kid we talk about where there is no disadvantage to making the CFL by going through the OUA, because at the end of the day, as long as you're a capable enough football player and you're able to test really well and you pass the eye test, you're probably going to make the CFL.
And you know what? Like again, we never going to tell anybody to not try to make the NCAA, because I want to make the NCAA. When 14 years old, that was my goal, until I realized maybe it wasn't good enough. It wasn't, all these types of things. But we do have guys that from Ottawa that can compete. We got Jonathan Sutherland and Jesse Lucchetta playing for Penn State.
Right.
Tackles, contributing. We have the big number 90 for Oklahoma, prime time on ESPN, make plays.
Yeah.
So this isn't about that people can't, and then so we're never seeing that. But what we all need to be honest with ourselves is, what's the best route to become, if you want to become a professional football player, what's the best way to do that? And when you look at all the people who go down south, the ones who make most off professionally, end up coming back here, playing very, very well in the UA or the U Sports CIS, and then becoming Canadian players in the CFL. And there's tons of people do that. And a guy like Carter Wilson, that guy was one of the best defensive players that we ever watched our time doing HESN. And I was so happy that he went south, but I was always checking to see, is he playing? And it just they don't get that. They don't get a fair chance down there. I'll be honest with it too. If did get a fair chance, maybe there'd be more success. But I love sort of maybe put his pride aside and said to himself, well, what's the route for me to become a professional football player? And we'll see what he does in the next few years.
So upcoming, McMaster has Laurier, which we know will be a huge game. Ottawa U hosts York, so that's a game I think they need to win. This is a game they should win. They're supposed to win. They have to show up. They have to do well there. Same as Carlton. They're going to U of T. That's a game they should win, and they have to win because we know how competitive it is now, and the playoff implications are real, especially with a team like Windsor, which is kind of in that mid-pack clump that can play well at any moment. Same with Queens. Western will play Waterloo, which isn't a gimme.
No, I would say that's the game week. Laurier and McMaster clearly the week, but Waterloo is really one to keep an eye on because if Waterloo can win that game, of course they're making a statement. But even if they can close, and even like it's a 35 to 30 win for Western, that shows that Waterloo is here, and then they're serious.
That's true. Queens looking for a rebound after a couple losses here, and they'll be playing Guelph. So they're going to travel to Guelph for that. So it's interesting time right now in the OUA, and of course the Panda game coming up. Two very good teams. So that's the hype for that game I think is building right now. With
I think it might be basically all sold out already.
That's great.
So which is great to see.
Yeah, I want to go this year. I want to take.
I would like to go. Why would like? Well,
we should go together.
We should. Maybe I'll bring my family.
That'd be great. So, is it really a family-friendly kind of atmosphere? Maybe on the north side. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Let them learn. Let's go.
Let them watch horror movies.
Well, I remember going to. I remember the Renegades. We had the beads.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like.
Daddy, what's Mardi Gras?
A little older, but still, it wasn't family friendly.
Right. So let's jump into the Mosquito level here, Ty.
Yes.
A lot of people that we know, great coaches, are coaching at this level, and they argue. I've heard it lots to say they believe Mosquito is the most competitive level of NCAFA. It's definitely one of my favorites to watch.
It's that, we always talk about it, right? At first time when the coaches come off the field, you're playing the full size, and it's the first time sort of you're free to play football.
I love seeing the kids they start to wear their uniforms with a little bit of swagger. They have the back plate, they've got the visor, some kids, and the armbands and the gloves, but it's all miniature. And their cuts, like a kid a couple weeks ago, I was covering the Bengals and the Panthers, and I think there was a big punt return, and he was making these great moves, and he was kind of cutting back inside into the field and out. And everything just looked like it was the same thing that the older kids do, but it was in slow-mo.
Exactly, yeah.
And awesome. So Cumberland Panthers right now are 4-0. They continue to blow teams out. I think they won 55-0 against Bell Warriors this weekend. The Eagles are not far behind them with a 3-0 record, and these two teams will be matching up soon. So that's going to be a great game that I definitely want HESN to cover that. Followed by Canada, which is 4-1. And I also saw, I believe, the Gatineau team, which have a record of 2-1 right now, but a really good passing attack from Gatineau. So, so you've got just heaps, like the heap of teams here that are 2-1. The Warriors struggling at 0-5. West Carlton 0-5, but really everyone else is right in the mix. And this is going to be such a fun playoff run for the A Cup and B Cups to see where everyone kind of fits into the playoffs.
It's gonna be great, and once you start getting at night, everyone knows you can feel that cool coming in at night. different smells that are happening outside, and means playoff football is coming up soon. And when you start putting all that work that these kids put in the summer and in the spring for training, and all the time volunteers put in, and you start getting close to the playoffs, that's when it starts to pay off. And you know, of course, it's not always about winning. We all know that about, you know, so many other things that. But anyone who knows, when you play these, you're trying to win. Everyone wants to win. So it's not a void. So it's going to be good to see these undefeated teams or one lost team sort of go head to head and see who's going to be champion.
That's right. And I mean, you see these teams that I mean, there's great players everywhere. There's great coaches everywhere. But for some reason, some teams just are able to put it together in some seasons. And I love watching these A-Cup championship teams go at it because they've found some success. They're doing some things well and they're executing well. But then you put them up against another formidable opponent and you see how they react and how they make adjustments. And some kids just rise to the occasion, and those will be our future superstars like Phil Aloki.
That's right.
One day. So upcoming this week, if we look what's happening, there's a great matchup at the Mosquito level. Canada Knights will host the North Gloucester Giants, and those teams are the Knights are 4-1 and the Giants are 2-1. But that's going to be a great matchup. Both teams haven't been able to hold, you know, the other offenses to bay. They've allowed a lot of points. So we'll see if that's kind of an adjustment that happens over the back end of the season, and if they're able to tighten up defensively. And the Cornwall will be traveling to face the Nepean Eagles. The Riders, who are Myers Riders, are 2-2 right now. They will be visiting Bell Warriors, looking for a win there against the winless Warriors. Panthers will take on that Gatineau team with that passing attack, and the Bengals will face West Carlton, who are also struggling at 0-5. So
well, you know what? You know, like one of my most memorable football seasons is when I went on 8 in Tyke. So for all these kids, of course, when I just rant about how winning matters, it isn't everything, right? The fact that these kids are out there getting repetitions, making sure that they're going to make new friends, learn how to play the sport, and even though you're not in these football games, you know, you might be 0-5, but trust me, these kids have fun. These are going to be memories they'll remember, whether they realize that now or not. And it's so important because just because you're not winning doesn't mean you're not learning how to play the sport. And that is the most important factor in Tyke and Mosquito, trying to learn those fundamentals of the sport, but not just tackling and passing and how to take a hand off anything. It's how to deal with pressure, how to deal with losing, how to deal with being a good sore winner, a good winner, or not being a sore loser. How to, with your coaches, how to communicate with players that aren't good. All these things matter, and that's, I love seeing these kids come out, win or lose. It's amazing. It's just, it really is a very, very great age group of football.
Absolutely. If we move up to Pee Wee, look at Myers Riders, 5-0. Myers Riders. Cumberland Panthers are 5-0 at the Pee Wee level.
That's awesome.
Bell Warriors 3-1. The Knights 3-2. Cornwall 2-2, and then pretty much everyone is 2-2 or 2-3 up until where the Eagles, Gatineau, and the Giants are struggling at Pee Wee. We talked about the Giants team. We saw them against the Warriors a few weekends ago, and they have 10 players that have never played football before. So a very young team going through some hard lessons with the game, but definitely improving every week. And like you just said, some of those bad years help fuel years when you're in a position to win and you want it that much more. I remember when I was coaching the Warriors, I believe the West Carlton, there was a high school strike, and all those kids that typically play for Arnprior or for the Redmen at Arnprior and Elmont, they came and played the Wolverines, and Hayden Tripp kind of led that team, but there were also the Reddy brothers, and they wanted it so bad because they had typically come from teams that were like winless growing up at the Mosquito and Pee Wee level. And then at Bantam, they put it together and they were pretty good. And I think that informed their desire in that Bantam year was all those years at not being able to win many games.
It's I completely understand. That's how I was. My first year we were 0-8. I'll never forget that. We like six or seven of us team that played a lot more football together as we got older. And even though they didn't, a lot of those guys didn't go all the way. The next year we went to the finals. We were 0-8 this year. The next year we went to finals and lost. The next year we went to the finals and like, and it really matters. And I thought it's a team with Owen Clement, well, right? He was one of the receivers on the team with the trip you're talking about.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. He was such a good player. Really love that guy. And I totally saw that in there when you talk to the coaches and you talk to the parents about that. They always talk those games where they were like, it was tough the last few, but then you saw that killer desire they had in Bantam. But yet you also could see time when the pressure got cooking, they didn't have those sort of magic tricks they could pull out their bag because they hadn't been those experiences yet. They were still developing them. But man, those were good. So that Hayden Tripp and Owen Clement guys, they had some great players on teams.
For sure, and Owen Clement now is a Carlton Ravens first-year receiver. He's dressing for the team, and he's able to kind of study under guys like Phil Loki and some of the other great slot backs there. So a good place, and good that Carlton was able to keep him because he was one of the greats. He kind of, if we're talking about Nathan Coleman, you might think about Owen Clement.
Yeah, Owen Clement, I would say he actually looks similar to him. He's a little bigger than him. Owen Clement, I think, is a little bit bigger and not as quick. Owen Clement was more of like that weird, long stride, sort of shifty and like gangly long type of guy. But he did some things on the other. He was really aggressive too. Like he would lay big blocks, and he was a great kicker as well.
He was a kicker, and actually Coleman was kicking for Canada. I noticed.
There we go. So there are a lot more similarities.
There are some similarities there. Upcoming this week, Sunday, we'll have our Pee Wee matchups. The Giants will face the Knights. Wildcats will visit the Eagles at that level as well. The Raiders will play Bell Warriors. Panthers will play Gatineau, and the Bengals will play West Carlton. So that's coming up this Sunday. If we're going to move up to Bantam, we've been able to cover Bantam a little bit more because the times have lined up really well, and this is by far, I think, the most competitive level in the CAFA this year. This is the one that I think is really, really exciting. Obviously, the midget is very exciting too because of all the changes and the Quebec interlock. But if we look at what's happening to Bantam right now, we were able to shoot the Warriors and Panthers, which was a really good matchup. Panthers are now 6-0 after that win, a very tight game against the Bell Warriors.
Yes.
Bell Warriors gave them a run for their money.
Hey, want to see.
And Cumberland pulled that one out. The ground game, Bell was in a position with a minute left with the ball down by 8. And they couldn't really get anything going on that drive. They gave the ball back to Cumberland, and then Cumberland ran a big touchdown on a gas defense. And Bell lost arguably their best defensive player, middle linebacker, number 44. Who we want to feature a little bit later in the season because this kid I saw against Canada, he's a future star, on the defensive side of the ball. But right now what we have is a 6-0 Cumberland Panthers team. Marco Let's coaching there.
Okay, cool.
Along with Dave Fletcher.
Awesome, I didn't know that. Good for Mark.
And they're putting it together. Obviously, they took that team to the championship last year, losing to Canada. But they are back and looking to redeem themselves. Underneath the Panthers, Myers Riders at Bantam are 4-0. And the Canada Knights not too far behind with a 5-1 record. And then the Bell Warriors are 2-2. But I'm telling you, they could have beat Canada. I think that was a very, very well played game. They didn't play their best game. And I think they're still finding themselves. But right there, you've got 4 teams that will be in the A-Cup hunt. And when the playoffs happen, it's really, it's a matter of which coaching staff have prepared their teams using the film that's available at Bantam and making adjustments and putting a complete game together for 4 quarters. that division's going to be very exciting to watch. And the Eagles, let's not forget, although they have had less convincing losses to some of these other teams, they're still at 2-2.
Yeah, no, and that's it. You're completely on there about those adjustments that coaches are going to have to once you get deeper into the offs. The weather's not going to be as good. You're gonna that's a big factor that nobody ever thinks about. It's always one of those things. Like coaches are practicing wet football once a week. Not a lot of no one I don't think does that. There's a lot of little things you got to think about once the weather gets. Tell your kids don't do things like don't practice with pants on because that really doesn't allow. It's little things that really do matter.
Mental toughness.
It's mental toughness. Get out there when it's cold, guys. Get out there and do some not over the top running for no reason, but every practice knowing that you want to do a few extra sprints, a few extra push-ups to make your body that much more ready for those tough games that are going to happen later on in the season when it gets cold and the weather gets bad. And when you're talking about Mark coaching, I love to see that coaching because he coached when I was at the Dukes. The one thing I really liked about Mark as a coach was he had very calming demeanor. Yeah. He's a very he's an extremely nice man, of course, because he volunteers so much time in Cumberland Panthers and all that stuff. He's also a really good football mind, and he's very understanding of sort of. He's really having conversations with players. I always found him to be a good give and take type of coach. So when you see him that Mark will let coaches have a good record, you can tell that I really believe that he's a really integral part of that. Really excited to see if he's going to be able to keep the team on the tracks and get a championship that he's probably wanted for so long. It's going to be great.
Well, it's certainly been a Cumberland Panthers year, even with the Mosquito team being undefeated. The Pee Wee team undefeated, and now the Bantam team undefeated. They're in line. We have to look at what Tyke's doing. I try not to focus on the wins and losses there so much. It's just kids out there having a good time.
That's right.
But definitely a good year for the Panthers organization. He's sitting at the top of that organization.
And we do know that teams or organizations, all these good teams every year doesn't always mean they all win the championship. Because we've where there's been teams. I remember when I was in Mosquito in Pee Wee, the Mustangs had Tyke, Mosquito, and Pee Wee in the championship, and we lost all. It was the most heartbreaking day in Mustangs history, and that can happen because when pressure mounts up, and you're all these undefeated teams there playing on November 4th this year, I believe championships will be. So it's going to be one of those things that's going to be a crazy situation that you got to stay focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that those teams in the middle of the pack, the 2-2 teams, sometimes, especially if you have two losses in a row, you can start to kind of have the steam taken out of you. Oh, we're not as good this isn't going to be as good of a year as we thought it would be. And at that point, you have a chance, or you have an opportunity to kind of stop practicing as hard. Maybe the attendance starts to decrease, or teams really kind of buckle up and care more, and they'll pull it out. And those are often the teams that are more dangerous in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how those Warriors, those Eagles, and those Mars Riders teams. So upcoming this week, for those interested in how this Bantam level is shaking out, there's a huge game on Friday night at Bob Barr Field in Canada, as the Knights host the Myers Riders, who are undefeated. So that's a 5-1 team versus a 4-0 team.
Yep.
That's going to be a great game, and also the North Gloucester Giants will play the Eagles. So that's a game for the Eagles to really make sure that they are on the winning side of the column there, and that
but it's also momentum. A huge game for the Giants, because if the Giants win that game and get to 2 wins and drop the Eagles back to keep at 2 wins, now there might be a fight for that last playoff spot. So you never know what can happen, right? You talked about these teams going to lose. Some of these the Giants, they got nothing to lose. They got to win out.
Right.
If they don't win out, they're not going to be playing. So like you just said, sometimes they might strap it up a little harder and get down to business.
So that's Friday night, and then Sunday, the only game on the slot for the Bantam level is the Panthers have to play the Warriors again, and again they need to travel to the Warriors to do it at Queen's Point.
It's gonna be a good game.
So facing them 2 weeks in a row is an interesting situation, and two very good teams, 2-2, and an undefeated team at 5-0. So that'll be an interesting weekend, and Bantam is definitely giving me a lot of excitement this year.
Like we talked that with the new alignment, Bantam dropped down a year, but now it's giving these kids an extra opportunity to get focused a little younger and get prepared for the Big Ten.
For sure, absolutely, and I love seeing some of these, predicting what these Bantam kids can do for these midget teams as they're coming up. We mentioned number 44 for the Bell Warriors, like an all-round linebacker. There's also some great tacklers on that Warriors team. Number 53 is I've seen him make probably 10 or 15 open field tackles that are difficult tackles to make, or when he was in Canada, and then also this weekend against the Panthers. They have great quarterbacks at that Bantam level too, and this is, we know how important the quarterback position is on any football team, but you've got Connor Vanasse at Canada. That's able to step up and join that West Ottawa team that is doing so well. We've got Zach Colche at Cumberland, who's got an undefeated team and a product on the field right now. And then we've got that Warriors quarterback too, that I think he's very young, but he's very impressive. I think he's a kid that looks very much, he reminds me of Nolan Harris. So right there, you've got three capable quarterbacks that are able to step into that midget level and probably start.
And maybe start, or maybe have an opportunity to really get a year of development under system where they can maybe not be so focused on having to play all the football games, but they're going to be able to go there, get some great coaching, do some training, keep focused on studies in school, and maybe get in there on some games where they're not winning or losing, and they get some good reps, but. That's why the system works so well now, is because with new age division, these kids going up, they're going to have 3 years of potential development, a system that they might be able to stay on track with. And if the kids know that they're going to be going to an organization, the Big Ten division, and they know that they have something good there, they'd be more willing to say, okay, well, I understand as a 16-year-old, I'm going to have wait my turn. I know that, like, for example, if Connor Vanasse goes up and Jared Valentino has 1 year next year, I don't know if he does. Let's just say, for example, Connor can learn a lot from Jared, and Jared has a lot of knowledge that he can. They probably already do work together. They play for the same organization, but I think that's a key factor in this whole amazing development that the Big Ten has, that these kids understand that it's about a process. It's not about just 1 year, and it's so great to see, and I can't wait to see these Bantam guys step up the Big Ten in the future.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. So now that we get into the midget level, we put a lot of our coverage in midget. It's a very exciting level to cover, and it's been no short of exciting in terms of the parity and the competition and the great games that we're getting.
Incredible game.
Incredible games. So let's start with the Knights. The first game last weekend was Thursday night at Bob Stevens Field in Canada. Grass turf, which is West Ottawa is accustomed to playing on themselves at home.
Yep.
And it was a 48-20 victory for the Knights. Now, I don't think anyone that was anticipating and waiting for this game on the schedule, the way the season's gone, thought that the Knights would lose this game. Would you say?
No, I would say that. Yeah, yes.
But early in the game, the Eagles. Let's just go through the highlights. I don't know if you've seen these yet.
Yeah, we watched them. Yeah. Let's just check them out.
But I think that the Eagles are struggling right now. We see right off the bat they're trying to go to Coleman. Coleman gets a jet sweep here. The Eagles definitely started number one, power ranked, winning the championship last year. We knew that there was a lot of pieces that didn't return, and but I thought that defensively with Dwayne Knight stepping in as DC there, they have had trouble. I think on the defensive side of the ball, they look good early on in the season defensively with that Mustangs game and with Myers, but it's I think teams are starting to figure them out a little bit more, and
also the pressure though, because like the pressure the defense has on them at all times when they're not able to, when the offense is not able to get get some momentum and get some points going, eventually the defense, you must be just so hard for these guys to go out there and bust their balls out there, but then they're not getting any on the other side of the ball. And it's everyone's trying. I know that it can wear on a defense.
You're right. The defense has been out there way too much this season, and certainly when they're facing the Knights here, there's just too many weapons. You see right here, I think that was a post corner that Coleman got, and I would say 22 is probably, if not the best, one of the best corners at the midget level. And Coleman had his number in this game, and I know that he wasn't happy. There's a highlight later on where he runs that post corner again and kind of gets him. He speeds turns, but it's not in time, and then he misses the tackle and he pounds the ground. And I've done that myself, and I broke my wrist, so I would recommend to try to refrain from doing that. But
see, look at talent though from Noah. I mean, he's such a natural player.
And he adds so much. Like when he makes a play like that, and he gives us a little bit, he gives the crowd a little bit of a, how you going?
I love it.
It adds so much. It's such a spark to the Eagles team having a veteran like that there, and he does score 2 touchdowns in this game from short yardage. One's garbage, but he has a couple big runs here. So, like, back to my point, I just think that they haven't been able to, like, they just don't have the horses this year on offense. I think it's just what it is, and certainly Canada's defense is also very good, and I think they just loaded up and prevented Noah from doing much when it mattered. The short yardage, he was able to punch it in a couple times, but they couldn't consistently get first downs in this game.
And that's the big thing. And one of the things that I always find when I talk to people about ball, and one of the things I find people just don't understand is, what is the goal of the game of football? If you were to explain what the sport is to somebody, what sport is, you have 4 chances to get 10 yards. And after that, you have another chance to get 10 yards. This is what people need to. This is what I find more people need to focus on. Is as a team struggling offensively, not a good fumble there by Nathan. Nonetheless, if you're offensively, I really believe what you want to do is you want to focus on the small things, and that's 4 plays to get 10 yards. And if you could consistently do that,
this is the play here. Oh no, sorry, it's coming up. That's Matt Lachance.
He's a player too, though. He's a very dangerous player. Super hand. But my simple point is just that if you're helpful offensively, simplify it for your kids. Make it just work those, just getting 10 yards. That's all you need to really focus on.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So interesting, number 12. He played for the Warriors last year, and he's a good punt returner. I remember seeing him. He wore number 2 for the Warriors. I don't have his name right in front of me, but they've been using him in the backfield, and Valentino was able to run that draw and those counters with him, and he had a big game against the Eagles here.
I'm just amazed when I watch Valentino play how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands when he's in the pocket, and how consistently accurate he is with the ball. Of course, he's going to make some throws that can be intercepted because he throws the ball so often. But I mean, just first half of the highlight tape, like, good Lord, every pass was right on the money. He's talented, natural passer. He just sits there, slings it. I love it.
This kid, 55, Davidson.
Oh, it's crazy.
He's just what a like run plug.
Yeah,
and
how he plays football.
Number 9 too scored a big touchdown for the Eagles.
Yeah, that was a nice one. He has some bets on him too.
Look at this, Coleman trying to dive here. Oh, flash!
Good. He's looking at the camera. Am I in?
And Guy Noel, I believe, is 25. He's a corner for the Eagles. I coached him at the Warriors, and a nice corner. Definitely an aggressive and mouthy guy, chippy guy. I like that about him.
You need a little bit of that.
He's a physical hitter, and I know that him and Ferdinand were kind of chatting at each other online a little bit, and we're highly anticipating this game. But just the word on the street is that this Coleman kid is the total package, and we see in this game like how big of an impact he can make. I think anyone going against the West Ottawa team this year has to take care of him first and foremost. And I know Valentino is capable of kind of, if the defense gives this team the respect that I think they do deserve, Valentino is capable of kind of picking them apart underneath. But I don't really think that there's anything you can do that's more important than defending this number 11. And I think originally we had this is the one I was talking about, this post corner.
Yeah.
Originally Ferdinand was kind of what we thought would be the biggest offensive weapon in the year, but I think he's still got some maturing to do from what I hear. As a player and as a team guy, so I hope that trends in the right way for him, because he is an absolute talent and a stunning athlete. But you got to be the full package, right? You got to have good grades. You've got to be a good team guy that your coaches will talk fondly about, and and you also got to be able to put it on the field. Look at this,
and see right there, that play to me best personify Ethan Coleman brings to the table is that there's no fear in this kid when he plays football. He's not scared of taking a hit, but he's not taking necessary hits. He's very smart with how he does it. He knows when to accept. Listen, like I told Carlton Ravens coach, he was asking me about him. I said, listen, best player on their team. He said, really? Listen, this is the kid that's the best player on the field. And
he's up for an award apparently for Nissan Athlete of the Week.
Okay, cool. Well, he deserves it because the kid's on fire. I love how he plays. He'd be my starting receiver if making an all-pro team from the midget big division. That's a great highlight. That's great highlights there. Great stuff by Valentino. Athleticism by number 5 and number 11. Great defensive. But I was impressed with. I was seeing more jump out of the Nepean Eagles offense on there. Noah Goche making some plays, Steen making some runs. Just not consistently enough. Honestly.
Yeah. I just think maybe they don't have the horses this year.
Happens,
and it's as simple as that.
That's it.
They might argue with that, and we'll see. There's still half a season to go here. Anything can happen, but with that loss, Nepean falls to 1-4, just behind Myers. So the Giants 2-2. Interestingly enough, they played the Eagles the week before, and really made a statement with like a 49-12 win. I watched these highlights of that game, and I believe it was like a demolition.
Yeah.
Utter domination. And it just looked like the Eagles in this game just didn't have it in them. I think it was a lack of effort. So the big kind of thing to now look at in this division is that the Giants still need to prove that they can win against good teams, and they're going to be playing the Norsemen this Friday.
That's a huge game. We'll be there.
This is a big game for both teams because the Norsemen come off being shut out against the North Shore Mustangs this Saturday.
And let's not forget that we haven't even spoken about the last game that we broadcast, which was the Norsemen versus Myers Riders. Where the Myers Riders almost pulled off an upset.
Yeah,
and almost came back and won the ball game against Bel Air, and we were extremely surprised about that because we definitely thought that Bel Air would come out and put a beat down Myers based on their records, but I saw something from that game where they came out, they had a quarterback, started off low, but they really told me that these kids are not giving up, and they got some talent. We know they talent, and I think that the game sort of put a little bit of inside these Bel Air, these Norsemen, and when you see them come out and get shut out by a really North Shore team, don't get me wrong, but I expect more from such a good team that we believe is a good. So
I was surprised when I saw that result.
Yeah,
I just
time for these guys.
I just think that they're too good of a team to have that happen at this point in the season.
Yeah,
and now you're looking at, like you said, that Myers was less than convincing in their performance there, and now they come off that loss, kind of brings them back to reality a little bit.
Yep, that's right.
And I think this is a huge game for this midget division.
This is the game of the year. Like, of course, it's in the sense of two teams, but it's going to be the most important game because lose this game pretty much could potentially not be running for the playoffs. Theoretically, they could not be.
So there's a board of governance meeting tomorrow night where the playoff structure will be approved. But from my understanding, in the top 10, in the 5 teams in Ottawa,
yeah,
the two of the 5 teams won't make it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be and then I believe the top team of the QMFL division will enter the top division of the QMFL. It is kind of confusing.
It is.
Because the Big Ten isn't necessarily a playoff structure, right?
Yeah.
It's a conference, but then when the playoffs come, it's still the Ottawa City Championship with all five
right.
with the 5 teams.
So it'll be basically 3 teams with Big Ten, and then the one Ottawa team, which
The one Ottawa team, if Orleans wins out, so they another huge game. So they beat Saint Laurent 40-0 this weekend, and that was the team that the only team that they've lost to previously, and it was like you saw that game, and you said it was a lot of deep passes that were completed that shouldn't have been.
And
it was
lost
still
like 39 of that.
Yeah, it was still a close game. So now that team was winning out after they visited Orleans in that first week, and now they're sitting at the top of that division with Orleans close behind them, and for Orleans to come out and win 40-0 against them. It's a statement. They stand alone as the top team in the QMFL Midget Conference. So if this continues, and they have Shadowgay. Now, Shadowgay's, I think they've lost their quarterback. They've had some injuries. They looked better in week 1 or 2 than they do now. And I think Gatineau was in a position to win against them. Now Orleans will host Shadowgay on Sunday. And that's a huge game because if they win that, I think they have Sherbrooke one more time, and they should win out. Yeah. So that would put the Orleans Raspmen in the top division in Montreal for their playoffs. If they happen to win and beat teams of the likes of North Shore or the Sun Youth Hornets, they could potentially face an Ottawa team in the Interprovincial Bowl.
Would it just be like the coolest story, right? That's like the things that we want to see, right? So, but this is what we want to talk about. We're talking about teams rising up from a division to play another team from a different division. We're talking about Montreal. We're talking about Ottawa. This is why midget football, like when we talked about the referees after the game there a couple weeks ago, we were listening to the referees about how they've been doing such a good midget division. Both Don Wilcox and the other guy said, we have never seen midget football so good in the almost 15 years. And that I was really proud of the work that all you guys done in the last 5-6 years to keep things alive and allow it to evolve into where it is today. It's incredible feat by guys.
So Friday night we're going to do the live broadcast.
It's going to be amazing.
Tyler and I will be on the broadcast together. We're going to feature a few players to start the game because now we have some footage. We know who has been definitely the showcase athletes on these teams. But I cannot stress how big this game is. And being prime time, Friday night lights, the only midget action in town here. And I mean, I really think that this is big. This is a bigger game for the Giants because I think it also speaks to like the organization itself. I think if the Norsemen come out and they don't do so well, they lose that game. It's like whatever. Like let's get it back on track and let's shoot for the next 3 games to get into the playoffs, get ourselves right. I think if the Giants lose this game and they lose it like poorly, then it's kind of feeds that mythology about the Giants not being able to win when it matters with the talent that they have. And I mean, this year probably more than ever, they have a complete quarterback. They have some, I think, Ottawa top caliber like superstars on defense in Oliver Trudeau and Richard Graham and some of the they have a running back number 23. I don't know his name off by hand.
I think Baptiste might be his last name.
And this kid is this is a top 3 running back in the league. They have everything they need to do. Now it's a matter of you need to win against the Bel Air Norsemen on Friday night. That needs to happen.
I would say, top to bottom roster wise, Giants probably have the best roster. I gave talent wise, just in individual players, what they bring to the athleticism, ball skills, whatever. What I haven't seen is that consistent offensive ability to keep drive going. It's either 2 and out with 5-yard losses or a 45-yard, 70-yard touchdown. It's one or the other.
Well, and I also think, just to jump in there too, what I've seen, and this isn't like this year, this is like for the last like 4 or 5 years, if they do find success, it's when it's at the end of the game in garbage time when they start to get their running game going. And then they look impressive and they score a few touchdowns, but the game was already lost.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you stay on that cusp when the game is still anybody's and perform and actually produce in that time?
And not so easy. It's not so easy. And we always talk about that with my friends, the Detroit Lions have a really tough start to the season, right? They look good in the games. But, I mean, when you watch how the Dallas Cowboys played last night, what they were able to do is run their offense and keep the game close. Even though they weren't getting touchdowns and dominating, they were able to consistently get first downs. And I think you're completely bang on with the Giants, is that if they can keep the running game going and stick with the running game and not feel they need to throw the ball deep, open up the passing game, which can lead to turnovers, they should be able to beat any team because they have the horses to do it. And I'm real excited to see this game. I am predicting right now to all the players out there watching this tonight, I'm telling you this right now, I believe that the North Gloucester Midget are going to come out and they're going to beat Bel Air Lions, Bel Air Norsemen. And I think a two-pronged reason. I think the North Gloucester team has sort of found their stride a little bit. I think they're starting to become more of a unified team. I think they've been through some tough losses. They've had some sort of check moments, and I think they're starting to put it all together. And I think Bel Air sort of going the other way right now. I think that loss Myers really that win against Myers, even though it was a win, I think it really made them question how good they think they are, and they can be a great team. I believe both these teams can be very, very good teams, and I predict the North Gloucester Giants are going to go out, and it's going to be a beat. I think it might be a 35 to 10, 40-10 type of game. I think it could be one of those nights. The weather doesn't look good. And I think that is a big benefit to the Giants because if the weather's sloppy, it's not nice. I think those Hogs will be able to push the line of scrimmage, and it could be nasty for Bel Air.
So you heard it. Tyler's taking the Giants in this highly anticipated matchup Friday night. I'm going with the Giants too. I think the stars are aligned.
Yeah.
And I think it could either go as kind of them pulling off a close one. It's going to be a great game, or I think that they're by halftime. And early third quarter, I think the Giants will pull away by 20.
Yeah.
So there it is.
We're throwing it out there. Remember,
but there's been some times when we predict and it actually fuels the opposite team.
Well, it happened with the Bel Air against the Nepean Eagles. We said they had no chance to beat Jacob Spinella, the Eagles, in the game of midget, and they came out and they proved us wrong. We don't have any preferences. I love all these kids. There's kids on both teams that I think are great kids and great players. And I just call it how I see it. Straight shoot.
The last little thing I will throw in there is next week, so not this upcoming week, but the following Sunday, this undefeated West Ottawa Knights team will play the Cougars. So the Cougars are the team that beat the Giants in week 1. They have, if I just bring up the QMFL here, this is a good physical team. And this is a team that will be competing in the playoffs with these North Shore and the Sun Youth team. Like they're up there. So Canada's gotta get past this team. But in your opinion, I know you've been high on West Ottawa all year. Do you think these guys can be beat? And if so, what will teams need to do to defeat this West Ottawa team?
So the one thing that West Ottawa midget football don't do great is run the football. That's not a strength of their team. They can find ways to create wing yardage by create a little end arounds and jet sweeps and that type of. But they're not great at running between the teams. I think if the weather's not good, if they play against a team who has a big defensive line, who's able to impose their will physically, I think that Valentino and that receiving core is not going to be able to sling all around like they're do. And I think that will create a recipe for us. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't find ways to, because the one thing I know about
I would agree with you. Bad weather, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah, It really is, and again, it's one of those things that people don't want. Well, that's fair for both teams. Well, it's not, because some teams have different skill sets. Basketball teams are tall, and basketball teams are short, and that creates different problems. Some football teams big and slow. Some football teams are small and quick. The Canada Knight, the West Ottawa Knights, they're a quick, high-powered passing offense. When the weather, if it's rainy or really cold, and the back has trouble slinging it around, they're not going to be as effective, and that's just a fact.
And going back to our conversation earlier about building that callus as a team of being in these close games, we talked about Carlton right now.
Yes,
this could haunt this West Ottawa team if you get really bad kind of cold, wet weather.
Yep.
And then you also have a game where they feel like they should be way ahead and they're not, and that doubt creeps in. That could be a recipe for disaster for this team.
True.
The other thing, so I don't think you're aware of this. So I got a message after that game, a day or two after, saying that there's some controversy. And in the QMFL, you're allowed to put a little microphone in the quarterback's helmet. And the OC can communicate. Gatineau's been doing it for a few years because they've been playing in the QMFL. So the rule goes, and it was communicated. I don't know how well it was communicated to all the Ottawa teams, because like the playoff structure and these are new things that are happening, there probably are some questions on how things work.
Yep.
I don't know if this has been all season or if this is something that Canada's picked up, but they had Valentino hooked up to their OC. And I believe that opened up the possibility of some pre-snap reads in that no huddle, reading defenses maybe. I don't know how much really of a benefit other than having the play called. And I don't know, I'm not convinced that there's a whole ton of coaching going on with that communication. I don't know how good those things are. I've bought walkie-talkies in the past for HESN, and we know you spend $200 and it's useless. So, but the Eagles didn't think so. So they have really been upset that this happened, and that what the league has communicated, from my understanding, is that they've been told not to do it again. Now you're able to use that microphone system and headset system when you're playing QMFL opponents in the Big Ten. Orleans and Gatineau are able to use it all the time because they're playing only QMFL opponents. But when two NCAFA teams in the Big Ten are playing together, you're not allowed to use it. It was used. The Eagles are very upset. And I was interested to hear your take on this.
Well, my take is, if they played the game 50 times without the earphone, I think Nippy would lose 50 times. So I don't think it really matters in that sense. So I think it affected the outcome of the game. I agree there. The rules. I don't think that it should be. They should be like some sort of punishment more than just. And just don't do it again. I don't think it should be a forfeit loss or anything like that. But I definitely say that, there should be some sort of punishment that we come up with. Maybe like make a financial contribution to a charity or something of that, or just to sort of say, listen, that is not within the rules. Argue it's ching. At the same token, I sort of like this is all sort of new. I didn't even know anyone had that technology. Know that which I think we all should be in their station to be like, okay, number one, we should make okay for everyone to use it for.
I agree. I think if you want to use that, like, go for it. And I think next year that's something that we look at and say, okay, just if you think you can benefit from it, go for it.
Yeah, and also, like, maybe some teams don't have the financial resources to provide their own team. So I would say that.
Well, I think they're like $50 at the Canadian Tire.
Oh, then at the end of the day, to me, it's a move. It's just like, not a big deal. I would be frustrated a little bit as the team that would be on the losing end of that argument, but also looking at it objectively, it's like maybe it's just not worth the fight. Maybe you have to say, listen, that's not really good. I might call the coach personally to say, listen, you don't need to be doing that. We're here to do football. That's how I would handle it. I wouldn't yell at anybody. I would call the Canada coach. The coach, listen, man, come on. And if he says, honestly, we've been using it in a game, we didn't know to use it. No one ever said anything before. I would just be like, no problem, and that's the end of it. But at the same token, now that we know, if they did it again, that's sort of that ethics that we talk about in sports, where it's not an ethical decision to continue to do it.
Yeah.
If you know you're allowed to.
You and I are on the same boat here on this thing. I think
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal. I think, like you said, now that it's known, I think people are watching for it, and I think you can't do it, right? Until the rules change, and there should be some serious consequences if it's done again.
Right.
But it wouldn't have changed the outcome. That's a far better team than the Nepean Eagles. And
That's right.
and certainly a forfeit does not make sense in this case.
No.
Some sort of punishment there. That certainly isn't. So it's one of those things I almost respect in a way that they wanted to see, like, hey, would anyone even notice? And
Listen,
you're kind of, we talk about players playing on the edge physically. Well, it's kind of it shows that this team's playing on the edge a little bit in terms of what they're doing to make their team better, and I kind of respect that.
Me too. I remember back when we were filming some OVFL stuff with Cumberland. I remember when Cumberland people put a big hoopla up when Vince would come over film the game, sort of just film. He'd just be standing there filming out, like not setting up. He would just film and then he'd bring it back. And I remember the parent, some of the coaches of Cumberland, like, oh, that's not good. Can't do that. And I'm just like,
he's scouting.
You guys go send a camera to games and do it too. He can do it, and it's good for Myers on doing it. And I think that it's the same type of conversation. If I don't consider it cheating, I think that it's maybe there is some ethics in it, and I think that we have a good sort of an ethic discussion about what you want to try to teach kids about winning and at all costs type of stuff. But personally, I like it. I'm okay with it.
So Nightgate has been talked about, and we are
well done. Dwayne to pull that one out.
But I'm sure that the coaches Carlos and Dwayne are interested to hear our take on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is, but from what I hear, my sources say that it was an honest mistake and that confusion on West Ottawa's side to say weren't sure when we could use it. We heard we could use it.
Yeah.
It was confused. They were confused about the Quebec and the NCAFA thing. I think that's a pretty good excuse. Whether it's an excuse or the truth.
Undefensible.
It's like there are a few things that people had questions about our new setup. So
that's right.
Let's squash that and move on. But this is going to be an exciting week, Tyler. We've kind of covered everything. The power rankings are out and online, and I love taking the grief from people.
It's the best. I love it all.
Also, a funny thing I saw on Twitter, the West Carlton Wolverines have released this 40th anniversary trucker cap. Ooh. And they're on sale. I recommend everyone picking one up to support them and that initiative. And I saw John Buck. He's probably the funniest Twitter personality I know.
Yeah, he's good.
He's got some good zingers there. And he wrote, yes, please, I'll take one. Could I have that commemorated and signed by Hayden Tripp? And I said, hey, make that too. I want one of those.
Yeah, no, there we go.
So
That's
maybe
good.
they gotta think about setting up a booth with some of the old West Carlton greats signing those trucker hats for people.
I mean, wicked. Go for them.
But a good initiative too. I like that.
Love it. Outside the box type of thinking. I like.
So let's we'll end it there, and we're gonna see you Friday, man. Can you believe that it's week 6?
I can. It's been amazing. I've been loving every minute of it. NFL's in full swing. I had a huge win in fantasy yesterday. I was a scoring player in team, and I played against a person who had the second highest score. So I would have beat everybody, but he would have beat everybody too, and I beat him. So it was a great win. So I'm 2-0 in fantasy, and my Cowboys won last night. Your Raiders didn't have a great fin there in the game, and your Lions ain't doing so well either. And football's in full swing.
I'm at the point now where I'm just like I'm like they're not my Lions. Yeah. Like I don't have anything to really cheer for with them at all. I hate Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
I've always hated him. I hate him.
Yeah. He's my quarterback in fantasy,
and the Bills again. But
who's Ryan and Rob? They love the Bills, eh?
Yeah, they were there at the game actually. Two of my buddies this we're talking about went down. I think
this week?
Robert's wife, bought them tickets, so they went down and they said it was just scorching hot.
Oh yeah, it's scorching hot, and a guy at halftime.
Yeah,
guy retired at halftime. So classic. It's brilliant.
Okay, so I heard a little bit about this. People are saying, hey, what if it's like a mental health thing and we shouldn't be like roasting this guy?
Whatever. Shut up.
That would be like, I'm going to retire during the show.
Yeah, no, listen. Listen,
walk.
I'm more having open discussions about my health, and I'm not to diminish it in any. But I mean, can't use it as an excuse for some types of behavior. You're a professional football player. You're in a game. If you fake a hamstring injury, don't to the game. Talk to the coach and your teammates after. You don't just leave at time. The people were asking, is the player park even unlocked? Like, how the hell get out of there? Like it's.
I think he probably had like he had like a disguise.
Listen,
He's like a fugitive, and he had like a change of clothes.
Because he said put on a fake beard and like walked out of there and stuff. But the guy, you know what though, Vontae, he was really high draft pick. He was a really good player for Indianapolis for a long time. He's a loser. He's been a loser for 3 years. He's been a problematic teammate.
Didn't that happen in the movie Replacements, where the guy like went into the first row and he's watching? They're like, "Hey, you're a kicker," and he's like eating popcorn. He's like, "We ain't gonna win this one," Yeah,
that's an underrated football movie, by the way.
It is, and I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan. So,
and you got me on the Keanu Reeves train with Point Break, because I like Keanu Reeves, but after watching Point Break and analyzing it philosophically, it really brought me to a level of his appreciation.
Well, let's end it there, my friend. Thanks for joining us on the HESN podcast. I know everyone loves your take on Ottawa football.
I like it. And I'm not scared to say it.
We will see you Friday night. Kickoff at 8 p.m. We're going to go live around 7:30. We're going to feature a few players. We're going to talk a little bit about how high these stakes are for these two teams.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be having the playoff structure by then announced. So we'll know what happens to Myers and what will happen to potentially the Giants or Nepean.
Who knows? We'll see.
Okay, man.
All right, brother.
Redneck.
So here we go. We're bringing on Phil Loki, Carlton Ravens star receiver, to the HESN Live local football show. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. So my first memory of you is back in, I think it was Pee Wee, might have been Bantam, first year Bantam for you, when you're playing with the Nepean Redskins. And it was pretty obvious that you were the best receiver in the league back then. And now it's a real pleasure for us to see you doing so well at Carlton.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't say the best receiver. There was a guy named Curly Giddens Jr. who was pretty good as well. So, and Jordan Dupree. So we had a pretty stacked court receiver there in the region. So it was pretty fun competing week in and week out. But those were some of the best times of my life, man. Just playing football with your best friends, and it was awesome. I wouldn't trade that experience for the world.
For sure, man. So some of the things that you did and some of the work that you put in to get to where you are, you obviously, I'm interested in knowing why you chose Carlton, why you decided to stay in Ottawa, and but I'm sure you had the ability to go really anywhere. Your track record spoke for itself. You had all of your OVFL success, you had your NCAFA success, and you chose Ottawa. How come?
I'm not gonna lie to you. The fact that I could kind of stay home and be with my family is something that I definitely don't regret. I had a chance to take some really cool visits to McMaster. Like, I see the nice little jersey behind me.
Yeah.
So, I had a chance to talk to some of the best coaches in the country and all that stuff, and it was great. But the fact that I was able for the first couple of years of Carlton's rebuild to kind of be in the stands as a fan was incredible, and to kind of watch those guys build, and the fact that I was able to connect with a lot of the guys on the team, Nathaniel Hamlin, Tunde Adeleke, all those local guys that I knew. It kind of made like an easy transition. It's like, man, this is it's a natural fit. It's gonna be a smooth transition. And obviously, you sit down with Coach Samara and Coach JP, and those guys are just brilliant guys. And when they kind of lay down for you the platform and the schedule that they have for you moving forward, it's kind of hard to deny. Every coach that you meet with is going to tell you, they have the best program, they have the best academic support, they have the best training staff, all that stuff. But if you're not able to actually go in there and see for yourself, then you're really you're really giving yourself a huge disadvantage. So, I mean, being that I was a local Ottawa guy, I had a chance to be in that Carlton locker room I had a chance to be in that Carlton locker room a couple of times, and I was able to visit facilities and kind of just fall in love with the place. It's the best university in the world. It's that small atmosphere, and yeah. And another thing is I couldn't do the Ottawa U downtown scene. That's not for me. I'm more of a what's that?
I always thought that I'd enjoy that, like I never really visited, but like having the downtown scene so close. I mean, it'd be good for partying, that's for sure.
Also, enjoyed as well, but I'm kind of like a homebody, kind of just chill, relax, and the whole busing and downtown scene, it wouldn't work out for me. So
yeah.
Carlton fits in very well with me in that aspect.
Right. So, what are you studying at Carlton, Phil?
I'm currently studying business law at Carlton.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, are you thinking about entering law in the field of law, becoming a lawyer, maybe?
That's my plan right now. After I'm done my bachelor at Carlton, I'm planning to apply for law school after that, and then see what happens from there.
That's fantastic. There's another local lawyer that had a pretty successful career in the CFL too.
I heard, yep.
Yeah. So and now obviously Climby's been on the TSN broadcast for a long time. He's great broadcaster. But that's great. That's great. Now the other thing I noticed is that I think you've been pretty patient receiver at Carlton. This is year 3, right?
Yeah, year 3. Year 4, sorry.
Year 4, okay. And we definitely saw you starting to make an impact last year. But for a guy with your talent, I always thought, how have you managed the patience of year 1 and 2 not really being thrust into action like you were in year 3? Now you're the guy. So tell me about what that process was like for you when you got to Carlton and now, in year 4 where you're really making a big impact.
I mean, to be honest with you, I definitely thought that I'd be a little more disappointed in myself. If I were to if I were to speak to myself, 4 years ago, and I said to myself, man, the first 2 years of your university career, you're going to be the 5th receiver, the 6th receiver, and it's going to take you a little while to transition. I would have been like, you know what, I'm just going to go to a potential other school or whatever. But then I look back at it and I'm like, man, when I graduated from St. Joe's High School and I went to Carlton, I honestly was not a very good receiver. You get out of high school and you're athletic and you can do certain things, but in terms of being a full receiver, I'd be lying to you guys if I said, man, like I really came out of high school prepared. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I got to sit behind Nate Bahar, who's not too bad of a receiver. I got to sit behind Calvin Weinsberg, Wilson Birch, a bunch of those veterans, and kind of just sit, shut up, listen, learn the playbook, and kind of develop. And I think to be honest, I think it really kind of paid off in the long run. I think the past year and a half it's a true tribute to those guys that I sat behind. And I don't think we'd be having the kind of success that we're having now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe dig into that. Like, what are the sort of things like downfield blocking? Maybe what you're doing when the play is away from you. What other kind of elements do you think that you're pretty raw at coming out of high school in your NACAFA career?
Well, I think coming out of high school, I think I was fairly athletic guy. I'm sort of just going up, high pulling the ball. I'd give you some nice little run up to the catch action, all that kind of stuff. And the first day of training camp, when we got in there, we did some one-on-ones, and I thought, I'd just be straight lining, running around guys, and it's like, man, this is a totally different game. It's a totally different style of play. And then you encompass the whole learning the playbook and learning the coverages and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, I really have no idea what I'm doing. So my transformation, I think, kind of came in that first off season. And when the season kind of slows down, obviously the season's over with, and the coach kind of gets some more one-on-one time with you when you're able to kind of sit down and dissect the playbook and really figure out what you're doing and why you're doing it, which is the most important part. Because I feel like as a receiver, sometimes you're out there, you're running routes, and you don't really know the full concept of the play, which is fairly important, So you kind of get to ask those why questions, and I think that benefited me in the long run. We have a great receiver coach here at Carlton, Josh Jacoby, who's a legend in his own right. So the fact that I get to pick his brain every day is pretty cool. And I obviously have me and Nate talk weekly before every game. So I mean, we kind of shoot texts back and forth, and I'm sending him film, and he's correcting me and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun supporting stuff we have here at Carlton.
Yeah, we talked to Hamlin, we talked to we talked to Hamlin a few weeks ago, and he was saying that the boys from that graduating class, and even some of the younger guys like yourself, are still pretty tight. And they say that once a Raven, always a Raven type thing.
Yeah, no, that's the cool part about Carlton, man. And I mean, I'm sure it's similar in other places around the country, but the benefit here at Carlton is that the program is literally 6 years old. So your alumni, aren't the traditional alumni. You know what I mean? You're probably still partying with the alumni after games.
Actually, that's true everywhere. Actually, I've been back for a few homecoming games, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You're there partying. It's interesting the ability to dig into and be able to understand what JP and Samara are doing with the offense, understanding not only what plays being called and what you're trying to achieve with that play, but what plays are being called at what parts of the game and why, like what you're trying to lead the offense towards throughout the game. Those are kind of the deeper understanding and intelligence of the game that I guess you're talking about there too.
Absolutely.
And so you say you talked to Nate before the games. He's still a mentor. You guys share film. Would you say your goals have changed now being in year 4 as from what they were maybe when you entered as a rookie? What is the goal not only for this team this year, but for you personally?
I mean, it's gonna sound very cliche, but like my goal, to be honest, is to do whatever the hell I can to help this team like win at a big level. Because to be honest, it's I feel pressure myself just being a local guy. You know what I mean? And it's I feel pressure kind of being a local guy. So I went to high school, and a bunch of my friends go to Carlton, a bunch of my friends go to Ottawa U, a bunch of my friends kind of stayed around. It's kind of like, hey, yeah, you went to Carlton, right? That's the new program that started, right? So how you guys doing? And it'd be nice to kind of be like, yeah, man, we're making a deep dive in the playoff. So that's the kind of pressure that I'm putting on myself. You know what I mean? But in terms of the team goal, win every week, get better every week, and compete for Yates Cup and then a Vanier Cup later on. We had a pretty disappointing season last year in our expectations, and I think we were looking fairly well this year. Starting hot, 3-1 record, but I mean, at the end of the day, also it doesn't matter if you're not going to make a true deep run in the playoffs, and we're itching week by week to kind of get back there and kind of prove some people. So it's going to be interesting. But the goal always remains to get better week in and week out and compete for the big titles.
For sure. And now I think your numbers this week were pretty impressive, 6 for 67. You guys have – who do you have here? You have U of T coming up. So having said that, that's got to be a game that you're expecting to win. They just lost to McMaster, although U of T is definitely a team that isn't the U of T of old days. They can win week to week, and where do you guys think you are in terms of being able to compete deep in the playoffs with some of the other OUA powerhouses? What will it take for you guys to be in a position to win a quarter and maybe a semifinal?
Well, first of all, great respect to U of T. They've done some great. They've done like a whole 360 down there with the new coach and other good new coordinators and all that stuff. And they got some of the best facilities in the country. So they're definitely a program that's going to be on the rise. But from our perspective, we're looking for I don't know how you say this, but I guess like our pivotal win of the season. I think we've had a bunch of close calls this year, which we're not really too happy with. You know what I mean? We go to overtime 2 days ago with Queens, which was a good game. But if you were at the game and you watched the first half, you thought you probably could have left at halftime and not looked back. But I think we were beating them.
What is that a result of?
That's a tricky question, but I think it's a result of us just not finishing games. And I think as a fourth year player, I kind of take that on myself. It was, I don't know, 40 degrees out there, and I think I wasn't in the right mental state to finish that game. And so that kind of comes throughout your preparation, throughout the week, Monday to Friday, making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're getting your food in you, make sure you're getting your lifts in you. And that's what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, it also comes down to mental toughness. Being able to open up that second half as a freshman game and kind of just restart. And if you look at our past four games, we lose to Western in overtime. And then we go to Windsor and we have a sort of close game. And then we go to Waterloo and that's another nail biter. So going to Toronto this weekend. I guess we're looking for like that convincing win. We want to show people that we're not always going to be giving nail biters. So that's right. That's the goal. And to answer your second question, I think we have the best, or if anything, as close to the best in terms of talent of anyone in the OUA. You bottom, we're a pretty impressive group. We have a second year pivot in Michael Ruder, who's just shredding the league on fire right now, and he's doing his thing. We have potential CFL player in our right tackle, Noel McGreer. We have Kenny Onyeka, Defensive Player of the Year last year. So we're pretty explosive, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we don't combine all those talents and make it work. So I think we can hang in there with anyone. Our opening weekend at home, we take Western overtime, they win the Vanier. So if that's who we're looking at, the top dog, then I think we can hang in there with anyone for sure.
Right, but, and you mentioned Michael Ruda this week. He was 26 of 34, 303 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. So if he can continue those types of numbers, and obviously throwing to my man Phil a lot, you guys would be in good shape. But it also shows how important that Panda game is going to be, because Ottawa's right there as well. But I think that not only looking to the Panda, how pivotal that will be, but also I think that win against Waterloo will come back to be a big one.
Absolutely. So you saw they just beat Laurier this weekend, which is a big one for that program. So if we take care of business this weekend in Toronto, and I think ROU has York this weekend, and they take care of business with them, we're going to be heading in that game 4-1 apiece. So it's gonna make for some pretty interesting headlines. ROU has a hell of a team down there, and a hell of a coach in Coach Breezy. Awesome, genius football mind. So that game's always going to be a close one. Like I said last year, I remember I was talking to someone. I'm like, man, we can be 0-7. They can be an 0-7. No matter what, that game's going to be the best game on the OUA schedule because we just know each other so well. And at the end of the day, it's your friends and family and everyone that you love sitting in those seats watching you. So it adds a little fire to the game for sure.
Absolutely.
So if we take care of business this weekend, they take care of business that weekend. It's going to make for some pretty interesting headlines for sure.
For sure. I agree with you. There's something about that matchup. It's the best experience in the youth sports across the country, hands down. And there's a lot of pride online. So whatever you guys are in the standings, that's always a good game. You're absolutely right. And also I think U of T's a big game. I think, like you said, you're looking for that decisive win, that statement win. This has a lot of implications. I mean, the OUA is so competitive now that the games that you're supposed to win, you have to win. And this is a big one. So this is you're traveling to Toronto for this one?
Yeah, traveling to Toronto this Friday. But like you said, there's no game on the schedule that's too soft, right? I think we kind of took Waterloo last year a little for granted, and we were able to kind of. And they put us on their highlight tape pretty quickly. So I think the approach this year is kind of we don't take anyone for granted, man. We're playing for keeps this year, so we're not underseeing anyone, and we're treating every game like it's the most important game, because at the end of the day it is. So we got to go.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little interview with you here from back in the day. You look a lot younger. I gotta warn you here, but I want you to start thinking about, as we watch these highlights of you back in the day, what some of your best memories were playing in the CAFA, growing up, playing football. If you can think of a moment in a game or something like that, that'd be great. We'd love to hear about, some of those moments. So let me just get this clip here. And I'm going to turn the audio on so we can hear this interview. What are your expectations for the season?
Well, we're just gonna take the game. We're just gonna take it game by game. A cup. I think that's what everybody strives for. I think you can get there with what you just listed.
So there you go. The goals haven't changed. Win the championship.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I think that was our opening. I think that was week 1.
And this is the play here. This is when I was like, "Who is this kid?" And that was week 1 against Cornwall down in Cornwall, and you lit it up, man. And I think that was your first year at Bantam.
Yeah, first year Bantam. We had an impressive roster that year, man.
Yeah, you had Spinell at quarterback.
Yeah, we had John Lansana. There you see him running.
Yep.
We had a good group of guys, man. And to answer your question about a couple memories, the fun part is probably the younger days. Like I always me and my friends and family and my brothers, I guess, kind of always like go back and forth with this. But it's like I think football was more fun definitely when you were a little younger. Obviously, it's still an awesome experience now playing with your buddies and stuff. But I think Tyke and Mosquito and somewhat Pee Wee was the best because at the end of the day, it wasn't as serious and it was kind of more as laid back. Of course, you want to go out there and you play with your friend or compete for a championship and all that stuff. But the fact that you were able to take three days out of the week, kind of ignore school for 2 hours and kind of just, pretend to know what you're doing and playing football. It was the best feeling in the world. I wouldn't trade that stuff for the world, man. I made some of my best friends playing with the Nepean Eagles, or formerly Nepean Redskins. Best time, man. I think if I would pinpoint one memory, I think it'd be I don't know if you remember this, but I think you guys were at that game actually. It was that same year we beat Cumberland to go to the finals to play Myers, and we had a young running back named Dover Colley. He went for like 7 touchdowns or something, and that was one of the craziest games of my life. I don't even think I had a catch. I did.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had it was freezing. It was freezing that day, and I had the first touchdown of the day. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a good day. Like, you're feeling good about yourself. And I don't think I caught a ball for the rest of the day, but like the clock went down at the end of the game, and you're like, man, like you don't care because at the end of the day you're going to the finals. It was the first time that a Bantam program was going to the finals, so it was just crazy, man. And it was a night game too, perfect atmosphere. That I think we're heavily underdog that game. And the fact that we were able to come out victorious was pretty cool. They had a special team that year, and the fact that we were able to beat them was pretty cool and advance to the finals. So that was probably my best memory, playing under the lights that cold fall day in Cumberland for sure.
We'll have to fish up that game, those highlights, because I remember that. I think Tyler shot that game, and it was a shootout. I remember that. I remember Dorber kind of arrived on the scene, and then he went on to do a couple more years of some great things there. And you had a few other players on that roster. Dan Porter, who's doing some things at McMaster now, and also Andrew Beattie, who had 7 solo tackles against, I think they played Guelph this week.
Yeah, no, we played them 2 weeks ago at Windsor, and he was playing. He was lined up right above me at boundary. he was giving me a hard time, so it was kind of it's cool seeing all those guys progress, man. I played with some of the coolest dudes, man, and there's a great example, Eddie Ekio, who's at Carlton dominating the OUA. He was an All-Canadian this year, and I mean, from watching, he could have chose whatever he wanted to do athletically, and
for sure,
absolutely. So I see him every day. It's kind of cool. We kind of talk about these highlights and stuff sometimes. So it's fun to see where everybody landed and who's doing what and where.
Definitely, man. Well, I know, speaking on behalf of HESN and the CAFA, it's been great to be a part of your development, and we're really proud of you. I know everyone that's watching this interview right now, it's great to check in with you, man, and we hope you stick around the community and continue to do what you do, man.
Absolutely, and I want to give a big thanks to you guys, not only for having me today, but like I said, me and my brothers, we really appreciate what you guys have done for the football community here in Ottawa, man. You guys, I remember having some chats with you after the game. And, man, this guy's crazy. What is this guy trying to do with this camera and these microphones? But you look back 5 years later and here you guys are, man. It's a true testament to your hard work and your team, what you guys do, man. And you guys have really kind of put a huge spotlight on football here in Ottawa. So big thanks to you guys, man. Really appreciate your work, and I'm gonna keep pushing the brand forward and all that stuff. So thanks a lot, guys.
Hey, thanks, Phil. That means a lot to us. And so speaking of your brother, what's the latest on Honor Roll?
You gotta you probably know more than me, but he's committed to Toronto early or late, I guess, in before the school. He committed to Toronto late in his grade 12 year or whatever, and then I think a couple weeks before training camp, I don't know if he got frozen feet or if he just, and he decided that he'd take the year off football, I guess, and he's currently enrolled at Ottawa U studying economics. So okay. I think he's kind of just reopening his recruiting and see where he goes from there. I know he was in our locker room a couple weeks ago on a visit, so
right.
Hopefully we'll be able to get another Loki in the Carlton uniform, and we'll see what happens.
That'd be great, and you and your brother are really talented guys, so wherever he does play, it'll be fun to see him out there again. But I also know you guys are very serious students as well, and academically, you guys have always put a lot of importance on that. So it's good to see that you're doing well and looking at a professional industry like being a lawyer. I know your brother was interested in med school when I talked to him a few years back.
Oh, I think I don't know. I guess he took a 1260 now, but
right.
Yeah, he's studying economics right now. So to be honest, I'm excited to see where he lands as well because he's probably better than I was coming out of high school. So I'd be disappointed if he wasn't on an OUA roster next fall. No matter where that was, I'm gonna be happy regardless because that's my guy. So
right.
Yeah.
So we got to wait to see where he lands, but I think that'll be exciting when we finally see what he decides to do. And good luck this week against Toronto. We'll be rooting for you guys, and looking forward to that Panda game.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot, Justin. We'll take it 1 week at a time, but it's coming sooner, closer than expected. So
for sure,
it should be fun. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, you bet. Bye now.
Yes.
Redneck. This is a Chucky Beat production.
Okay, so that's our show today. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's getting late. It's 11:51 according to my clock. I'm tired. It's time to get some rest. But thanks for joining in the HESN Live Local Football Show. I'm Jesse Card on behalf of the entire HESN crew that help us get these clips together. All the players and parents and coaches and volunteers that give us the inside info. Continue to do so because that helps us make a better show. Looking forward to the big broadcast Friday night in the Midget Big Ten Division. It's going to be live on HESN Facebook and YouTube as the Norsemen host the North Gloucester Giants. And also stay tuned. I mentioned at the start of this telecast that there's some major news in terms of high school football and NCAFA football, and I'm just at the point of just gathering details and facts. And stick with me in the next little while as we uncover the issue a little bit more. And like I said, on behalf of the entire HESN crew and on behalf of the National Capital Amateur Football Association, which is the football organization and community that develops football, make no mistake about it, we are the glue that holds football together here in this town. I'm Jesse Card. Have a good night, everybody.